What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing. We're going to continue with the series Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff, where we study African-American fighters that's not as appreciated as they should be. We're going to start off with a couple of lightweights. My favorite lightweight of all time was Beau Jack. His real name was Sidney Walker from Augusta, Georgia. And he's well known for coming home one afternoon when his grandmother seen him crying. And she asked him what he was crying for, and she told him that a kid took his money. So she sent him in the back room, took his clothes off and beat him half to death and told him no Walker runs from no one. Made him put his clothes on, go back outside and fight the bully until his blood ran from his shoes. That's what she believed in, and from that point on, that's how Beau Jack fought. Let's take a look at his career. Beau Jack learned to fight in battle royales, the terrible entertainment in which half a dozen blindfolded black kids punch each other, only one left standing, in the hope of receiving small change from their white audience. Jack, who also stoned shoes at the Augusta National Golf Club, was eventually backed by some who saw him fight, including the great Bobby Jones, and left in Georgia for Massachusetts to learn under Montgomery trainer Sid Bell. His real name was Sidney Walker, but his grandmother called him Beau Jack when he was a child. She also instilled his fighting spirit when he came home crying after being robbed. She sent him back out, Walker's fight until blood runs from their shoes. He turned professional in 1940, and at 21, he knocked out Tippy Larkin with a right uppercut in the third round to win New York recognition as world lightweight champion in December 1942. The following year, he twice beat the brutal welterweight champion Fritzy Zivik, unanimously outpointing the legendary Henry Armstrong, and fought two tremendous 15-rounders with Bob Montgomery for the title. He lost the first and won the second. In 1944, he lost the decider with Montgomery on a split 15-round decision, and although he won a fourth fight, the title was not at stake. Jack's aggressive, fast fighting style was a great draw. He topped the bill at Madison Square Garden 21 times. His championship days ended in a 6-round defeat by Ike Williams in 1948. But he fought on for 7 more years. In retirement, he returned to Shining Shoes in Miami Hotel and trained youngsters at the City Fifth Gym. Now let me tell you, that Beau Jack and Ike Williams fight in 1955 was as brutal as it can possibly get. I mean, Beau Jack was just a warrior. Ike Williams we're going to be talking about a little later, but that was a tremendous fight. Unbelievable. Beau Jack, Sidney Walker, born April 1st, 1921, Augusta, Georgia. He was a welterweight. His height was 5'6", managed by Chick Vickers. Now, Beau Jack was a lightweight champion for many years. So let's take a look at his fight record. 1940, May 20th, he fought Frankie Allen, a 4-round draw. Billy Bannock, KO in 3. Jackie Parker, he lost in 4 rounds. And this went on back and forth throughout the month of 1940. From May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So Beau Jack fought several. Look how many times Beau Jack fought. And this is how most of the fighters fought back in the 40s and the 50s. 1941. From January to December, He fought almost every week. It's incredible. Tommy Spingle, outstanding lightweight. Had over 150 fights. Fought Tommy Spingle again in Brooklyn. Defeated him in 8 rounds. Sammy Rivers KO'd him in 3 rounds in Brooklyn. Freddie Archer. Now, Freddie Archer was an outstanding welterweight, and Beau Jack fought him as a lightweight. December 8th and December 29th. This was at Madison Square Garden. He lost both fights in the 8th round. But like I said, Freddie Archer was an outstanding fighter. 1942, January 5th, Carmelo Finno. He defeated him in 10 rounds. Bobby Ivy, Madison Square Garden. He won in 8 rounds. Now, he fought Young Terry. Young Terry was from Trenton, New Jersey. Fought him October 12th, Madison Square Garden. Ali Schultz, November 13th, Madison Square Garden. Knocked him out in the 7th round. December 18th, Chippy Larkin, Madison Square Garden. Knocked him out in 3 rounds. In 1943, February 5th, he defeated Fritzy Zivic, Madison Square Garden in 10 rounds. March 5th, Fritzy Zivic, Madison Square Garden in 12 rounds. April 2nd, Henry Armstrong, Madison Square Garden, 10 rounds. May 21st, Bob Montgomery, Madison Square Garden, 15 rounds. And that was for the New York title. June 21st, Maxie Starr, Washington, D.C., 6-round knockout. July 19th, Johnny Hutchison, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, KO'd him in 6 rounds. October 4th, Bobby Ruffin, outstanding fighter, Madison Square Garden, 10-round loss. November 19th, Bob Montgomery, Madison Square Garden, 15-round win, and he won a New York title. Now, this was in the, when he went to the Army, Beau Jack made $1 for that fight. And he donated the rest of the purse to the U.S. Army. 1944, January 7th, he fought Lulu Castino, Madison Square Garden. He defeated him in 10 rounds. Sammy Aingot, January 28th, Madison Square Garden. It was a draw, 10 rounds. February 15th, Maxie Berger, Cleveland, Ohio, 10-round victory for Beau Jack. March 3rd, Bob Montgomery, Madison Square Garden. He lost 15 rounds. Recognized in New York as world title bout. March 17th, Al Bummy Davis, Madison Square Garden. He defeated him in 10 rounds. March 31st, Juan Zurita, Madison Square Garden. He defeated him in 10 rounds. August 4th, Bob Montgomery, Madison Square Garden, defeated him in 10 rounds. So you can see at this point how active Beau Jack is. 1945, December 14th, Willie Joyce, Madison Square Garden, 10-round victory. 1946, January 4th, Morris Reefy, KO4 at the Garden. February 8th, Johnny Greco. He defeated him 3 times, actually 2 times in a row, February and May. Sammy Aingot defeated him. He knocked him out, actually, in 7 rounds. Buster Tyler, outstanding fighter, Elizabeth, New Jersey, 10-round loss. 1947, February 21st, Tony Gennaro, Madison Square Garden. He was stopped in 4 rounds. So this went on and on and on. Look at all the great fighters he fought. The most brutal fight he was in that year, in 1948, was July 12th. Ike Williams, Philadelphia, KO'd him in 6 rounds for the world lightweight title. Chuck Taylor, Philadelphia, another outstanding fighter. 1949, He went on to have 7 fights. 1950. About 7 or 8 more. 1951, Fitzy Putin, very good fighter. He was a rugged fighter. Fought him January 1st, 1951. Del Flanagan, January 18th. January 31st, Emil Barrio. And March 5th, Ike Williams. He lost 10 rounds to him. Gil Turner, April 16th, May 21st, Philadelphia. He lost 10 and was KO'd by in 8 rounds. I met Beau Jack in 1989, and he autographed this for me personally. I'll always remember this photo. Outstanding fighter. Salute to Beau Jack. Now let's take a look at this next fighter, a Philadelphia fighter. He was a strong puncher. Bob Montgomery, known as the Bobcat. Now Bob Montgomery, he fought Beau Jack, Ike Williams, Sammy Angot. Fought some of the greatest fighters of all times. Outstanding fighter. As you can see here, he fought Beau Jack on a unanimous 15-round decision at Madison Square Garden, May 1943. He was a 1-4 favorite to retain his belt against Jack. 6 months later, but in spite of flooring him twice, he was outfought and lost the decision. Now, Bob Montgomery also fought Ike Williams, and that was a brutal fight. You know, between Beau Jack, Ike Williams, and Bob Montgomery, you know, you don't have those type of opponents that will fight each other back to back like that anymore. He fought Lou Jenkins, Tippy Larkin. Outstanding fighter. Born February 10th, 1919, Sumter, South Carolina. Lightweight, 5'8". Started his career in 1937. He had 24 amateur fights, won 22, lost 2. And he actually began his professional career in 1938. Let's just scroll and take a look at some of his fights. Sammy Angot, July 7th, 1942. He lost 12. Bobby Ruffin, August 13th, lost 10. Maxie Shapiro, October and December, lost 10 and won 10. 43 for Chester Rico. Lulu Castatino. Gene Johnson. Beau Jack, Madison Square Garden, 15 rounds, May 21st. Won a New York Commission lightweight title. His exhibit, Philadelphia, won 10 rounds, October 25th. He fought Pete Scalzo, Philadelphia. That was a rugged fighter. Beau Jack, November 19th, Madison Square Garden. He lost New York Commission lightweight title to 15 rounds to Beau Jack. Cecil Hudson, 1945. Outstanding fighter, Cecil Hudson. Leo Ruddock, 1946. Tony Pallone. Outstanding Italian fighter. Fought him at the Garden. Defeated him in 10 rounds. Ali Schultz, June 28th. Madison Square Garden. KO'd him in 13 rounds. That was a title bout. Outstanding fighter, outstanding fighter. Salute to Bob Montgomery. Another great fighter. Ike Williams, 135-pound machine from Trenton, New Jersey. He won the NBA title. He defeated some of the greatest fighters of all time in his division. Had wars with Montgomery, Beau Jack. He lost his title eventually to Jimmy Carter from New York. As you can see here, he beat the best: Johnny Bratton, Kid Gavilan, Beau Jack, Sammy Engard, excuse me. Outstanding fighter. Salute to Ike Williams. Ike Williams had a record of 125, 24-5, and 60. He fought from 1940 to 1955. Titles held: NBA lightweight, 1945 to 47, world lightweight, 1947 to 1951. Jimmy Carter, outstanding fighter out of New York. Jimmy Carter, born December 15, 1923, Aiken, South Carolina, 5 foot 6 inches. 1946 is when he started. Look at the great fights he had in 1946 alone. As you can see, 1947, April 18th, he fought Joe Brown in New Orleans. He lost 10 rounds. June 3rd, Sandy Sadler, Washington, D.C. That was a 10-round draw. Joe Brown later on went on to be the lightweight champion after he defeated James Carter. All these fighters you're looking at here, dynamite punches. 1950, March 28th, he went on to fight Wallace Bud Smith in Cincinnati, defeated him in 10 rounds. Wallace Bud Smith would one day become champion. 1951, May 25th, Ike Williams, New York City, KO'd 14 rounds, won the world lightweight title. Now the thing about this fight, I had a grandfather named Hamilton Archer, and Jimmy Carter used to come over and see a girl by the name of Lulu Bell. And everybody knew her on the block. So he came up to my grandfather's house one day, and he was talking to him. And my grandfather said, "I understand you're going to be fighting Ike Williams." I said, "Oh yeah, Hammy, I'm going to beat Ike Williams." "You got to be kidding me." He said, "No, I'm going to beat Ike Williams." And sure enough, he went and destroyed Ike Williams. And nobody could beat Ike Williams at that time. Phenomenal fighter. August 28th, Art Aragon. November 14th, Art Aragon. Just outstanding fighter. Salute to Jimmy Carter. Last but not least, Old Bones, Joe Brown. Outstanding fighter. Born New Orleans, Louisiana, 1926. 1943, turned professional. 1956, he won the world lightweight title at the age of 30. 1962, lost world lightweight title to Carlos Ortiz. Now in 56, he defeated the gentleman we just looked at, Jimmy Carter, for that title. 1970, retired after winning a 10-round fight in Tucson, Arizona. Career record was 161 fights, won 104, lost 42, drew 13, no contest 2. Great fighters. Great fighters. This has been Scrapbook Boxing. Take a listen to my part 4 series coming up in a few days. Shout out to the corner. Shout out to the Brother Blood Boxing. PK MMA. Roughhouse Boxing. Sister Lala D. Brother Lawrence Williams. Kid Mays. Marshall Simmons. For the Rod X, Marlo Trey X, and Kurt Sugar Salute.